Many of you ask for a reading because you want to know why you're here and what your power is. And some of you have something in the blueprint of your soul that takes us on a wild ride. This is one of those. This wild ride is going to take us to India. This wild ride is going to tell us about robots and human beings and the connection of our consciousness being put into robots. There is a warning. There is a communication from a futuristic energy here. There is a communication of an immortal being coming forward to speak through you. And because your blueprint of your soul has this ability and holds memory within your body, this perhaps is your power. Maybe your power has not been found out scientifically how to collect the memory and the power yet, but let's dive deep into the symbology to find out. There is a river. You are drinking out of this river. You are also at 1 o'clock touching an old man, a bearded man looking in a mirror. There's a cow, which is the earth. There's a spaceship, and there's a space program. And an individual with a spaceship that has the ability to telepathically move things. There's a picture of robots. And there's two worlds, a world of their original human and then a world of a human being upgraded technologically through science. And so we're going to focus on the main two names in your piece. And that is the river that you are drinking out of, and this river is called Sonai. We're also going to focus on a place on the cow, which represents the earth, called manna. When we were doing your live reading, we thought manna was the food of the gods. It is, but it's not what we thought it was. It is my hope that my psychic abilities become upgraded to understand some of these symbols, because these are things I did not understand in the live. This is the man looking at himself in the mirror. He's an old bearded man. And this is the word manna on the cow with two angels. And this is the word Sonai with the arrow pointed down. And there being trapped energy inside somewhere. And this is a picture in the pedestal of a being that looks like a clone or a robot. So trust me, we're going somewhere with this. Spirit is always around me and always will tell me what your pieces mean in the end. They don't always mean what I tell you they mean in the live. So the river Sonai is in India. And this river is significant for some reason. And when you look at the river Sonai, it actually makes the letter S. And if you look at it, it kind of makes USA. And if you pull back the river Sonai and go to another river on the other side of Bangladesh in India, then we see the place called Manna. So Manna and river Sonai are pretty much in the same place. So this is where Manna is. It's on the very far left of Bangladesh in India. And so Manna and the river Sonai are both bodies of water that are flowing into the ocean. If you pull it way back, you can kind of see that where the river is on the very right side, and then on the very left side of Bangladesh is Manna. So there's a guru that was in a cave near Manna and near the river Sonai. This is a guru that is in your piece named Krishna. I don't know how to pronounce the name, but it's Vya is the very first Vaya. They are classified as Vedas. They are sages. And this sage wrote a Sanskrit called Mahabharata. This long poem talks about a battle and a struggle between two groups. And when I looked deep into the understanding of this poem, it's about the immortals and the ones who live forever and the ones who don't. This poem contains a philosophical and devotional material such as the discussion of the 4 goals of life. The 4 goals of life have a picture of the 4 wheels of Ezekiel and the 4 horsemen, the 4 white horsemen, and things that are in our religion. It's a little difficult to understand the nuances of this poem, but I'm going to relate it back to your piece because your piece is speaking of this man. But they say that the importance of this poem is as important as the Bible and the Quran, or the works of Homer and the Greek drama of the works of William Shakespeare. Within the Indian tradition, it is sometimes called the 5th Veda. They say that we can trace all great teachers and their students to the Vedic times. The epic is traditionally ascribed to the saga Vyasa, who is also a major character in the epic. So this poem states, having bowed down to Narayana, Nyada, the most exalted male being, and also the goddess Saraswati, must the word Jaya be uttered, something like that. It's a hymn, it's a praise, and this praise has power somehow. So Vyasa was a partial incarnation of the god Vishnu. So that's strange that he says that, right? He is one of the 7 immortal Chiranjeevis, implying that he is still alive today. Okay, interesting. So the Chiranjeevi are the 8 immortals who are to remain on earth until the end of the current Kali Yuga, according to Hinduism. Immortal does not mean eternal. It is a combination of Chiri and Jeevi, which means forever lived. But how does a being live forever unless it is a robot? And in India, they often call Shiva an avatar. And it's funny with the movie Avatar, Shiva is known to have blue skin, like the movie Avatar. And this movie Avatar talks about human beings bouncing their consciousness into another body, right? Almost like we save our memory of our lives and our consciousness on a SIM card. And so here you see somebody controlling a spaceship with their mind, and the wheels of this chariot looking like wheels of time. So your piece is taking me on a wild ride of robots, advanced robots. There's something inside your DNA and your blueprint of your soul that is perhaps warning the human race about bouncing our consciousness into robots. So they say that Vyasa may not be a single person, but a lineage of sages who were content to simply develop the ideas without claiming credit. They were free from desire or for the results of their work. They say that Vyasa is only a title. Anyone who composed a new Purana was known by the name Vyasa. The Hindu view of the universe is that of a cyclic phenomenon that comes into existence and dissolves repeatedly. Each cycle is presided over by a number of Manus. Now, Manus is also the word manna. It's spelled differently. It seems as if this manna, or Menu, is a technology, an invisible technology, a supernatural power which bounces our consciousness to parallel lives. In every third world age, Vishnu, in the person of Vyasa, in order to promote the good of mankind, divides the Veda, which is properly but one, into many portions. There is a limited energy of mortals. So the Veda was cut into fourfold to adapt it to their capacities and the bodily form in which he presumes. So basically it's saying that we all are not just ourselves. We have many parts of ourselves experiencing different lives in different Vedas. So when you're born again, you are aware of your double self, and then you triple, you become aware of your third self, and then you quadruple, you become aware of your fourth self. And these four selves basically grow and experience and create the future and future worlds. So there's an individual who will become the next sage, which energy is here to divide the Veda into the 29th Yuga, meaning creating a new world. And so this may be a communication to you. The reason you're here is to memorize and create a new world. You could see this scene of the river flowing in between these two individuals, and the houses and the sun all reflect leaving an old world and a new world being built by your mind, your memory, and by supernatural forces as well. Basically telling us that our minds are not our own. We have our own emotions and we have our own thoughts and all of that, but most of our thoughts are adopted from our parents and from the human race. So there was this beautiful woman who was found by a god who wanted to mate with her and make an heir with her, and she didn't want to because it was dishonorable. So he made it honorable by hiding their copulation, and she had a son with him. And then the god took the son and turned her back into a virgin. Now, how is that possible? Because there are forces out there that can take our consciousness and erase our memory of even having a child and turn us back into a virgin without having anyone the wiser as to the occurrence. So that we live in a realm where our consciousness can be manipulated, where we do not have memory of our past or mating with a god or having a child with a god. So this is some kind of communication about this guru that we're speaking of here. So now why do you have a spaceship and a robot in your piece? Well, there's a robot Indian human spaceflight program that was initiated by the Indian Space Research Organization. And it is scheduled to launch no earlier than 2023 on an LVM-3 rocket. They do not want to use animals for life support systems, so they're using robots that resemble humans. And they have more than 99.8% reliability. And I think that they're bouncing human consciousness into robots. There's something happening here. So this humanoid is a legless humanoid named Vyam Mitra. And Vyam Mitra is a humanoid robot being developed by the Indian Space Research Organization to function on board a crewed orbital spacecraft. And Vyam Mitra has the ability to recognize people and react like a human, and it gets pretty
robot to help its upcoming ambitious Gaganyaan manned space mission. The humanoid, known as Vyomitra or Space Friend, will be sent to space before ISRO actually sends astronauts in 2022. Vyomitra will carry out experiments in space and will be able to detect levels of oxygen and carbon dioxide. The human-looking robot doesn't have legs and can only move sidewards and forward. The unmanned mission carrying the humanoid can be in space for around 7 days. 4 astronauts are shortlisted by the Indian Air Force and will be sent to Russia soon for space training.
We are going to do a lot of demonstration tests this year. After demonstration tests, and we are hoping to have them.
So this robot will be performing microgravity experiments, monitoring module parameters, supporting astronauts in crewed missions, simulating functions to act like a human. It is programmed to speak Hindi and English and perform multiple tasks. It can mimic human activity, recognize other humans, and respond to their queries. Technically, it can perform environmental control and life support systems functions and handle switch panel operations and help with environmental air pressure. Let's change the subject for just a moment and talk about mana. Mana is a supernatural force that permeates the universe. Anyone or anything can have mana. They believed it to be a cultivation or possession of energy and power rather than being a source of power. It is an intentional force. They compared mana similar to concepts such as orenda, orikos in the Indians, and theorized that mana was a universal phenomenon that explained the origins of all religions. The reconstructed Proto-Oceanic word mana is thought to have referred to as powerful forces of nature such as thunder and storm winds rather than supernatural power. Notice that it's connected to the ocean and water here. And it's always referred to as the unseen supernatural power. The unseen is the invisible mother, and it is a very powerful energy that is invisible. But it is connected to salt and water and salt. Mana is a foundation in Polynesian theology, a spiritual quality with a natural origin and a sacred impersonal force. To have mana implies influence and authority. The quality of mana is not limited to individuals, peoples, governments, places, and inanimate objects, but also its possessors are accorded respect. Mana protects its protector, and they depend on each other for growth, both positive and negative. So it says that mana can possess an object, so like a robot. In the Hawaiian mythology, mana is a spiritual energy and healing power which can exist in places, objects, and persons, so in an object as well. You can gain or lose mana by our actions. Mana is both external and internal. So they call mana the top rim of the volcano, which is funny because your pieces show a person's mind with a SIM card on the top like a volcano, and this is mana. So the Hawaiians believed that the island of Molokai possessed mana compared with its neighboring islands. Battles were fought over this island because it contained a power known as mana. And to be honest, this invisible force is confusing to me. And there seems to be some people, the Vedas, who knew about mana and how mana could incorporate inside robots or beings or something like that. A person may gain mana by pano, which is right actions. Prayers were believed to have mana, which was sent to the akua at the end when the priest usually said a mama manu or mana. So some people believe that you have mana if it is in your genealogy. So if it's in your genes and you have mana, then you have a power that should be used. And this power has memory. And this power can be awoken and remembered and used. That's the only way I know how to put it. And so this word mana is indigenous. It does not come from the Western culture. So basically the war that was in the manuscript is about people who possessed this supernatural power versus people who were just psychics and they didn't actually possess the power. There are people who have a specific power, and according to this reading, you're one of those. Because you're drinking from the river Sonai, and this river has that supernatural power. So does mana. And this is mana. Mana is a supernatural power that people possess, and it gives them abilities that other people don't have. And this mana and this memory goes into these robots, and these robots have a supernatural power to go into a spaceship and bounce their consciousness from lifetime after lifetime, making them the immortal ones, which is connected to you somehow. So you are over there at the right as Lady Necessity from the myth of Ur, who gave out lottery tokens to individuals to experience a life. Their memory and their consciousness was erased through a river, but yours isn't, and or will not be, or you're being chosen because of this mana, which just so happens to be a place in India as well. These names have double meanings. And so this robot, I don't know how it plays into you, but there's a communication from this guru to you about your bloodline going all the way back to the Vedic traditions. And this person at 1 o'clock is a face that has many faces, many memories. And this means many lifetimes. Now, I said in the live that person moved spaceships with their mind. This is some kind of robot. And maybe there is a human consciousness, or at least mana, a supernatural power inside these robots. But look at this second piece. There's the volcano on top of the person's head at 11 o'clock. There's a SIM card on top. And there's mana from that SIM card at the top, holding a cell phone, and the eye of the needle and the fish playing a role. So there's Anubis, and the tears of Anubis are the salt water. And this salt is a tree that was cut, and our mind was cut, our memories were cut at 3 o'clock there. And at 1 o'clock, a human being whose mind is cut. So our memories have been cut, our mind has been cut, but we can remember by following mana, and mana comes from tears. And there's that guy on Anubis's eye. And this horse, again, of power, these white horses, and Ezekiel's wheels. And this is taking us back even to Harry Potter, where Harry collected the tears of Professor Snape in order to remember what Professor Snape had experienced. So there's mana in tears. And there's mana in a river. There's places of power, and this memory and this power is in water, but specifically water and salt, which is the human body. The human body has tears of salt and sweat of salt, and the ocean is made of salt, and water holds memory. But there's a difference between just plain bodies of water and water that holds mana, and volcanoes that hold mana, and people who hold mana. And you happen to be one of those. So if somehow we advanced our technology to understand that certain people's tears hold memory, they would be collecting your tears. because you have something in your deep, deep memory in the Vedic era with this guru that is very, very important for the future of humanity. But it seems as if your feet make fish and you're asleep, and yet you're alive, and you can shift bodies. Maybe this is a promise that we bounce consciousness and we don't need to worry about death. We just have to let go of our old life in order to bounce into our new life. But isn't that what Jesus said? He said, if you do not hate your brother, your mother, your sister, even your own life, you cannot go through the eye of the needle, which is in your second piece. The eye of the needle looking like a teardrop. And the teardrop in the eye of the needle is that our consciousness bounces into 4 separate Vedic systems, parallel lives. We have to let go of our old body and our old life in order to ascend to the new life. I do not want to be a robot. No way. Are we advanced robots, though? I mean, think about it. Let's just think about these truths that are being presented through you. So that you have this power is very important. You can misuse it against yourself and the human race, or you could use it for the will of God. And I don't think technology has been advanced enough to know how to use your tears, like Professor Snape's tears, that holds memory. It says here, bewitch the mind, ensnare the senses, bottle time, brew glory, and put a stopper in death. So this was Professor Snape's whole agenda, was to stop death by putting memory in teardrops, which if you look at the symbol of the Vesica Piscis, it is a teardrop. And this teardrop holds memory if the memory of the beholder of the teardrop has mana, which you have. I knew this was going to be crazy and confusing. I feel like I should be Alice in Wonderland saying, let us believe in something impossible every day. Well, this seems impossible, doesn't it? But this is a video that should be saved, like manna. So you have the number 4499 in your piece. To live is to suffer. To survive is to find meaning in the suffering. This sounds like the voice of that guru talking to you in your piece. Transmute Mecca, cube of Saturn. Recording death and destruction makes Saturn reflect that energy back on Earth. Recording death. We are recorders. We are memorizers. What is you are as far from yourself as a hawk from the moon. Neo, imagine if you found out that your whole life was a lie. Maybe we are advanced biological robots that memorize, and this consciousness grows. I would hate to believe that, but I don't know. My husband says it's true, but I don't know. Decode, I won't forgive those that conspired to destroy my soul. According to your reading, manna is a supernatural force of God that can embody objects even. But I don't know if I believe that. I'm confused about that. I'm not going to make a decision about that today. Did you know what the beast is and how the beast is? The beast. Is it technology? Is it putting human consciousness and the human soul into a robot? Should we? All the fountains of the great deep were broken up, and the rain was upon the earth. What is rain? What is water? The human body is made up of 75% water. Our brains are 88% water. We are water. We are memory. When we pass, the water of us goes into the oceans, and we drink it. 7 billion people utilized for the world's most ambitious program to turn our bodies, which is water, into memory. that goes back into the ocean that can be used as manna for computers and artificial intelligence. God is the only thing that exists here, but all of the digital afterlife world is Nipsey. Don't know what that means. So if God is the only thing that exists here, we are actually mirrors of God, not actually in the real world. I wish all of creation to wake up and remember everything. I agree. I'd like to remember. I'd like to know, I guess. Or not, or go to Disney World and live a fantasy. That might be fun too. So many are deceived and so many more are willingly deceived. Of course. We're in a program. We were never taught the truth to begin with. But truth can only be accepted when we're ready. And I believe that we are being groomed to be ready. And this readiness is leading us to our ascension. And this ascension, it has a program. And this program seems to be dominated by God, which is manna. And this manna can be anything and everyone. This is why God was a burning bush. Spoke through a burning bush. God spoke through Odin's pretend face, which was Mimer. Mimer wasn't even real. It was an animated robot. His head was cut off, and Mimer spoke through the head of this beheaded thing, like a robot. So I'm just saying, your piece is talking about the rainbow bridge of our mind, going from an old world, a tree being cut, to a new world. And in the new world, we see technology, we see robots, we see space stations, we see that we are being groomed to travel the space through time, through portals, through mirrors. And this came from the original race of the Vedas. And that man that is connected to you. So there's something in your blood and your water of you that is connected to him. And it is a program, and it is a something that helps us live forever. The immortals, the 7 immortals. One of the souls of the pieces of Osiris's soul was cut 14 times, 7 for her, 7 for him. These 7 pieces are the 7 immortals. And I don't quite understand it, but I'm going to send this to my friend John, who is more adept with concepts like this than I am, and ask for his opinion after he watches this video. So please continue to study and know that your tears are very important. Your blood and your water within your body, you have manna. And so maybe don't tell everyone about this, but this power should be used for good. And whatever you believe that good to be, then go for it. Trust your higher self. Trust your ancient knowledge within your manna, within your body. My name is Mary Moses. If you would like a reading, go to forestfairy.com.